Hi guys, Adam here. It's a bit late, but I just wanted to talk to you about the Polkadot auctions. So the auctions have started. The crowd loans, of course, start a few days earlier than the actual auctions. And we can see that many of the teams already have collected quite a lot of DOT for their Polkadot auctions. We can see that Akala is in the lead. Number 2 is Moonbeam. Then comes Astar, Parallel Finance, and then Manta and Clover Finance. In this video, we'll go over most of those, at least the ones that have a good chance of winning. Realistically, for Kusama, if we remember, the whole race was between Acala, Moonbeam, and Astar, and I expect for the Polkadot auctions that the race will effectively be between Acala and Moonbeam. Astar probably will not beat those two, so I think Astar will be number 3, and then it's gonna be Acala or Moonbeam as number 1. Currently, Acala is quite a lot in the lead. Akala have, they might be the project with the highest sort of internal prestige inside the whole Polkadot developer community and so on. And Dan Risa is very local very vocal and is talking at all kinds of conferences, and they are working with all many other projects within the space. Of course, we saw that Moonbeam is also a very, very solid project, and Moon River from Kusama did really well. And then Astar, we can say that Astar actually probably you could arguably say that Astar has the technology of the future in some aspects. And whereas Moonbeam they have the technology with the EVM and so on of the present, right? Astar is actually a very advanced project. It's just that Moonbeam right now is probably a little bit easier for many projects to just launch on straight away from Ethereum. So I do expect Akala and Moonbeam to win. Let's talk a little bit about each of the top ones. And the reason I only talk about the top ones is because we don't really know who might win the 4th spot. Well, the 4th, I have an idea, but at least the 5th one, that's very much up for contention. So putting money into other than the top ones at this early stage is probably locking up funds unneededly, and they might just sit there, and then you'll get them back later, and it's going to be a little bit of a waste of liquidity gone there. So let's have a look at the ones that have an actual chance of winning along this first batch. So the first one we'll look at is Akala. And Akala, if you've been, joining the Kusama crowd loans, you know that Karura was their sort of daughter protocol, and Akala is the main project, we could call it. Akala's team is a spectacular team in terms of DeFi. it doesn't get much better than the Akala project. So Akala, as I see it, Akala is a project that, can really, if they get the right projects onboarded with them, they provide a lot of DeFi tools. And if the right projects, the right major projects launch on Akala, then they can suddenly skyrocket with super high total value locked on their chain, right? So that's one of these where it can just suddenly go very, very fast. And if we have a look at the rewards that they promise for the auctions, We can see that the reward pool is 17%, which is high. It's already decent in sort of Kusama, the context of Kusama, but in the context of Polkadot, it's even better, because for some reason, and the reason is that there are more VCs involved in most Polkadot projects, and for that reason, there's less to go around for these crowd loans and auctions, right? But 17% in that context is quite a lot. So 17% is very, very reasonable. They have a 15 million dot cap, which we can all hope is not met, because if it is, we'll get the minimum rewards. So we basically, what we have to hope with most of these projects, and this is very important to understand, us as investors, we have to hope that we invest in a project that wins, but wins with the smallest contributed amount of dot possible, right? Because then we will get to divide among us the reward pool that they give us. So these 17%, right, 170 million ACA tokens, they will be divided by however many dots are allocated. So of course we want as few dots as possible, so there will be more ACA per person, right? So this is an important consideration, and this is also why perhaps some of the later projects might be quite juicy in terms of profit, because there might be less dot to go around at that stage, right? Of course, the most anticipated projects will win earlier, so it's a bit of a balance there. We will get more of the later projects, but on the other hand, the best projects overall in terms of people's perceptions are probably going to win early on. So it's kind of a balance between those two. Next one we will talk about is Moonbeam. Moonbeam is a smart contracts protocol, and as I said before, they did really well with their Moon River daughter project, we can call it. They already onboarded a lot of different dApps on their chain, Solar Beam, and a whole host of other ones. Sushi Swap was actually onboarded recently, and it went live, I believe, a couple of days ago. Sushi Swap, of course, they right now they have some liquidity pool special offers where they provide extra rewards to get the liquidity pool started on Sushi Swap and so on. So there are actually lots of projects that are coming on to Moon River, and we will see the same ones and even more coming on to Moonbeam, right? So Moonbeam itself is a very good project. It's a project that will probably have a slower growth in some aspects, but that doesn't mean that once Akala gets going, when they get the right projects on them, because it's DeFi, it can go really, really quickly, right? Moon River, on the other hand, will probably have a slower growth. They can even have DeFi projects on them, and they also do already, but that's not their sort of specialty. So I would expect Moon River to grow at a sort of a steady pace, and that could mean that it for a bit could outpace Akala, until Akala then hits those jackpot projects that just lock up tremendous amounts on their chain, right? So yeah, that's sort of how I see the relationship between those two, and they're both excellent projects. So while they are excellent projects, they are also likely to get the most dots contributed to their crowd loans, and then also to their auctions, right? So that means that we will get less of the glimmer in this case, and of the ACA token as well. So it's still a balance, right? But they are really good, and I would recommend everyone who can afford to do so to probably provide or contribute with some DOT to these two projects. There might even be some NFTs here and there from other from other projects, Zeitgeist or whoever we could imagine would do that for contributing to the first ever winner of a Polkadot auction, right? There might be some recognition in that. So if nothing else, then for that reason, I would recommend that you put well, when I say you, I mean my family right here next to me. Of course, this is not financial advice. Just saying that again, as you know, always this is not financial advice, and I'm just talking to myself and my near family and my dog and whatever else. So yeah, but definitely going into these sort of main projects, definitely it looks like Akala is going to win, right? So going in with a bit there, that might be a good idea. There might be even some other benefits aside from the ACA token itself down the line, right? You're gonna be an OG contributor of the whole ecosystem if you were part of the very first auction winner on Polkadot. Yeah. Having said that, Moonbeam, they put up a cap of 100 million DOT, which is a very, very high cap, right? A very high cap that I hope and don't think we will hit. And if we hit such a high cap, that means that we get very little glimmer for each DOT contributed. Then it's really doubtful whether it will be profitable to go into this one. I mean, we would need quite a lot lower. We would probably need 20 million, maybe around there. That might be the threshold at which it's profitable, and then if we get over that much, it might be it's more doubtful at least whether it will be profitable. Also, yeah, well, it depends on a lot of things in the future about how well the chain does and so on. But if we assume that it does well, like Moonbeam did, and we would still need some glimmer. And Glimmer has a total supply of 1 billion. And recently we know that Glimmer was sold for 25 cents for 1 Glimmer in the Take Flight sale. That was like a month or two ago. So if we can get 1 Glimmer, and we know that they were sold recently for 25 cents, that might be very doubtful whether that's worth it. Of course, the actual value of the Glimmer is higher than 25 cents. I'm sure it's going to be higher, right? But still, overall, if they get anywhere near their cap, then it's very, very doubtful that it's going to be worth it for anyone to go into Glimmer. But I that's also one reason why I don't think they will get close to that cap. I mean, 100 million DOT, right? That's going to be 10% of the entire, around 10% of the entire supply of DOT. So that also does not seem very doable. So I think hopefully, and I also think that they will get far below that threshold. Hopefully they will, for all of us. The next one that I'll talk about is Astar. One second. There we go, Astar. And as we can see, Astar, they, in many ways, they do much the same that Moonbeam does. There are some differences. Of course, there are many differences. There are also some differences in terms of how they do it. They also have an EVM, but they also have, you could arguably say they have even more advanced technology in certain ways, and they are also the project that got the most Web3 Foundation grants, and so on. So it's a very highly regarded project. They have had some problems attracting high-level projects from Ethereum. Something that Moonriver already has shown that they are quite good at attracting these projects. But rumors has it that there are some really solid top projects from Ethereum that we all know from Ethereum that are going to launch on Astar. Time will tell, but that's at least a rumor that's going around, and we can see that they provide 20% of the total supply of Astar for the reward pool, which is very high. It's higher than the two we just saw, right? Akala had 17% and Moonbeam had only 10%. Astar, they will give us 20%, right? So that's quite a lot. And then they have a lot of bonuses as well, here and there. Yeah, so that was Astar. Well, there has been, maybe we should just touch upon that. There has been some debate because Scheiden, which is the daughter project, the token price has not done as well as Karura and Moonriver has done, right? So what's the reason for that? People are saying that that's because there was some lockup, some luck drops. They happened earlier where you could lock up your Ethereum for an amount of time, and then you would get some Scheiden, and you would also get some Astar, called Plasm at the time. But anyway, so those people, they had them unlocked and they were able to sell Scheiden, and they're still selling. And some people are saying that is the reason. Right? Personally, I think that might be some of the reason, but a more important reason I think is that the staking on Scheiden did not really work that well. They had a thing called DApp staking. Basically what it is that DApps can stake on chain, and then they can decide to give some of that to the nominators, which will be people like you and I, right? What does that mean? Well, it just means that we will all get less, we will earn less, at least that's what it has been so far. We will earn less by staking Scheiden than we do, for example, for staking Moonriver, right? So since we will earn less, of course, it has not attracted so many people to stake instead of selling their Scheiden. So I think that is one thing. If Astar can somehow assure investors that staking will be worth it, because currently we get NFTs and we get tokens from projects that no one has heard of. That's generally what we can get on Scheiden, if I'm being a little bit sort of blatant here. So that's why the attraction of staking on Scheiden is not that great, right? So if they can make that better for Astar, then more Astar tokens are locked, and that will hopefully help that many tokens are not sold off and dumping the price. Another issue is that the team has been very they have listened a lot to the community, and they have tried to help the price by burning the entire treasury. So they've already done that. Of course, treasury builds up again because there's inflation in Astar, but so they built the entire treasury, and now there's a proposal to also burn a part of the transaction fees. So that will not make Scheiden deflationary, but it will lower the inflation rate quite a lot. I mean, everything helps, right? So it will decrease the inflation rate, these burns, if it goes through, and the price has stabilized after these proposals and so on. So if they do the same for Astar, that might that might be good for the Astar token price. And if they can then find a way to fix the staking issue. Currently, just giving large amounts of the staking rewards to small time dApps, that is sort of missing the whole idea that of course the whole chain and these dApps, they need users, right? And if users are not attracted, it's like a mall that give a lot of benefits to the mall, to the individual shops, but does nothing to actually attract shoppers, right? Then you have an empty mall where the individual shops, they have some bonuses and they have some rewards, but they will not really materialize if there are no users, right? So I think something needs to be done with that. I'm not sure. I'm not at all convinced that dApp staking is such a great idea. I know that Astar themselves they were at least very proud of it, but so far it has not worked out very well. It really hasn't. Of course, the idea was that when they do this, they will more easily get projects to build on them, and then these projects, they have the incentive to attract end users. But it just hasn't turned out that way so far. But let's see. There's still time for Scheiden to show that they can do well, and Astar, I think, will do well. I mean, it is a good project, and I'm for personally, I can just say I'm holding my Scheiden tokens. I haven't sold a single one. First of all, there has been no real reason to it. It hasn't gone up or anything. So yeah, but I think there's so much unrealized value in Scheiden still, to be honest. It's just whether this can be unlocked by the team. The future will tell. Then the next one is called Parallel Finance. And Parallel Finance, they were not very well liked when they went for the Kusama auctions with their Heiko Finance project, because they gave so little to the investors. And Parallel, they have learned from this, and now they give 15%, which is much higher than Heiko gave to the crowdloaners. So Parallel Finance, definitely also a very interesting one. And if they so that's also a DeFi chain, and if they lock up, let's say, half of Akala, then the value in that might be that the value is that we get double the amount of tokens, so we would get the same amount as if they gave us 30% in a sense, right? So Parallel Heiko is definitely worth looking at, I think, and they are in a good spot to get that fourth spot. It's also it's a good team, and they have a lot of backing, also institutional backing, which of course is both good and bad, but it is a strong project, and they might win the 4th or 5th spot. And then the last one that I want to talk about today is Manta Network. And Manta Network is a little bit curious. So this is a this is a privacy chain. So they do both DeFi and smart contracts in a privacy setting. So the daughter project was Calamari, right? A project liked by many in the community, and we hope to see them do well when they launch. Manta, they had a rough start. They had a very rough start, because what they did was they had fixed rewards. As we can see in this one here, they gave every dot, they gave 5 Manta. 5 Manta would definitely, in my opinion, mean that it was not worth at all locking a single dot in Manta, right? Because that would be a couple of dollars or something. It was not worth it. So what they've done now is that they have done the same, and they changed this yesterday. They've done the same that all the other projects do, and they give us the full allocation that they set aside for the rewards. So that they give us the 15.6%. Before, we would just get this fixed amount, and if they only got if they didn't reach their cap, then they would just give us much less, and the rest would stay in their treasury, right? That was a very bad idea. I mean, I had even prepared to really tell everyone to not, I mean everyone here in my house, of course, to not invest in Manta. But with these changes they've made, I think it's up there, and they might snatch the fifth spot. So these are the 5 that I think right now have a very, very good chance of getting the 5 spots. If I should mention one other one, it's Affinity, but Affinity has not launched their crowd loans yet, so no one can lock for them yet. Affinity is by the Engine team, and Engine, of course, is well known in the NFT arena and so on. So I also really like. I'm looking forward to Affinity. I just hope that they don't come with some 4% or some allocation, 7% or something. Then it's gonna be, then it's probably not gonna be a good idea. But then we would have to look at the whole tokenomics, of course. But yeah, so I hope they give us a very good allocation, and then that we can support them, and then they might even overtake. If they launch early enough to participate in this first batch, then they might overtake Parallel or Manta Network. Yeah. So that's sort of all I had for now. Well, maybe one other thing, if we should just quickly talk about the Kusama crowd loans. So the Kusama crowd loans are done, and we now have 3 winners, I believe, of this. No, we only have 2 winners. So the last one was Bit Country, and they won in a big style, right? They got more individual contributors than any previous Parachain on Kusama. So that's a lot of people hoping to get some NIA and get some land if they're lucky, and so on. It's a very interesting project, of course. And right now Quartz is in the lead, and there's a rumor. So right now with Quartz, right, it's also a very solid project. It really is a very solid project. Integritee is another solid project, and then Genshiro, they had a very lucrative campaign that ended, I think yesterday. It ended yesterday. So Genshiro is an okay project, but without this extra bonus, maybe it's not that attractive. With the bonus, it became pretty attractive. And but of the last ones here, yeah, I think my money is on Quartz. Not in a betting sense, not that I think necessarily that they definitely will win, but I sort of hope they will win, because I think it's an excellent project, and Polkadot are coded in. so in the whole ecosystem of Polkadot and Kusama, they made the first NFT, which is the Substra Punks, right? And there is a rumor, because, and this is only a rumor though, but for the Quartz crowd loan, they promised that the first, I believe the first 100 people to lock 10 Kusama or more, they would get a cello brick. So a cello brick is a very advanced form of NFT. It's in some ways similar to the Canaria birds from Remark, which are also a very advanced NFT. So that was an excellent extra gift to get, right? You would get a cello brick, which is very good. But now so the rumor is that they're upping the ante in terms of the Polkadot auctions, because they are, I'm not saying they are, but that's the rumor, that they are giving away some Substra Punks to, and it might be the first, what do we know, right? The first 50, the first 100, maybe, if they're being generous, to lock up a certain amount of DOT. So that's going to be very, very interesting. I think the Substra Punks is it's a criminally undervalued project. Of course, the distribution of the punks is not the greatest. That's just like the crypto punks. Back then, for a long time, that distribution was also not very good. So what we have right now is we have one crypto punk, right? That's the OG one on Ethereum, and then we have a lot of what we can call alt punks, right? But do you know what the OG alt punk is? That would be like Ethereum, which we call it the OG altcoin, right? The OG, the first alt punk, was actually also Substra Punks. That came before all the other ones, the Cosmic Punks and on Terra, I believe they're called, and the new Kronos chain. They also have some Crow Punks or whatever they call them, right? These are all later iterations of punks, right? The OG alt punk is the Substra Punks, right? I think they're criminally undervalued. Just a tip. Just my 2 cents. So with that being said, I think that's all for now. So just to sum up, I would recommend that you would put a little bit of DOT into these, and then maybe pick some of them to put a little bit more into. Akala looks like the winner. Definitely put some into that. Moonbeam is a very, very solid project, but it depends, because their cap is so high, right? If you put in now and then they go up towards the cap, then it's probably not worth contributing to them, to be frank. So it really depends on how many dots that the Moonbeam gets. And also remember, when you see on-chain contributions to these projects, we have to remember that Binance, there's an extra contribution amount there, right? So we have to add it all together, and then because they will divide their rewards in all of these dots locked, right? So Moonbeam is an excellent project. Just be aware. I would wait, probably. I would wait and see how high they actually go in terms of whether they get close to this incredibly high cap that they gave themselves. Okay, guys, that's all for now. Good luck with locking up your dots and participating in the first ever crowd loans and first ever auction on Polkadot. See you in the next one. Bye bye.